In module 5, we will be discussing regarding 8051 interrupts, and also will be dealing with the interfacing of microcontroller with the peripheral devices. In this session, I'll be discussing regarding the interrupts. What is an interrupt? What is the need for an interrupt? Why interrupts are used? Which are the different types of interrupts available in 8051 microcontroller? How to assign priorities to the interrupts? So on. So now the question is, what is an interrupt? And when an interrupt is required? Why an interrupt is required? The general meaning of interrupt is disturbance. Now the question is, why this disturbance happens in a microcontroller? Microcontroller, it has to communicate with the other devices, the peripheral devices connected to it. So whenever the peripheral devices need service, this service can be provided in two ways. One method is polling, the other method is interrupt. What is a polling? In case of polling, microcontroller checks each of the input-output device, that is all the peripherals connected to it, to check if any device needs services. If the device needs services, then the microcontroller provides services to that device. Then it will continue monitoring the next device. Let me consider an example where around 10 devices are connected to the microcontroller. Okay, so here the polling is done in a round robin way. That means the microcontroller, it communicates with the first device and checks if it needs service. If the first device does not need service, then it will communicate with the second device and check if it needs service. Suppose the second device needs services, then the microcontroller will provide services to it, and then it will continue monitoring the third device. So polling is done in a round robin fashion. There is no way that any device can be missed out. So it continuously monitors in each and every device. If the device needs services, then it provides services. Then it will continue monitoring the next device. This is how polling is being done. We'll consider an example of this instruction where polling is used. JNB TF, target. Okay. So JNB means jump not bit. TF0 is monitored, that is timer overflow flag is monitored to see if there is any overflow. If there is no overflow, then continuously this instruction will be executed. Only when there is an overflow, the microcontroller will come out of this instruction. So in this particular example, you can see that the microcontroller is simply wasting its time by continuously monitoring the timer overflow flag bit. Okay. So to avoid this, we have a concept of interrupts. So in polling, we cannot assign priority to any of the device. Let me say around 10 devices are connected. Okay, now the microcontroller just finished monitoring the first device. Okay, now it is monitoring the second device. Now suppose the device 1 needs any service, immediately the microcontroller cannot assign priority or cannot provide service to the first device. So it has to continue monitoring the second, third, fourth, then the 10th device, then the device 1 gets the service. So we cannot assign any priority. We can say that all the devices will have equal priority in case of polling. So what is an interrupt? Whenever any device needs microcontroller service, it tells the microcontroller by sending a signal. That signal is called as an interrupt signal. When the microcontroller receives the interrupt signal, the microcontroller, it will stop executing its current instruction. It will call a subroutine called as interrupt subroutine. Then it provides services to the device. Then after that it will continue performing the original operation which it was carrying out. During program execution, if the peripheral needs service from the microcontroller, device will generate interrupt and gets the service from the microcontroller. This is an interrupt. So let me consider an example. In a classroom, there are around 20 students, let me say. In case of polling, the teacher will ask the first student, okay, if he has any doubt. If he has any doubt, then the doubt will be clarified and the teacher asks the second student if there is any doubt. So on. Teacher will continuously ask 20 students. So in this example itself, we can realize that much of the time is wasted asking the student who doesn't have a doubt, isn't it? So instead, whenever a student has a doubt, he'll stand up and ask for it. This is interrupt. So in this example itself, we realize that interrupts are much better than polling. Let us look into few differences between polling and interrupt. In the case of polling, a lot of microcontrollers processing power or time is wasted in checking whether the input output devices needs service. So as discussed earlier, continuously the microcontroller will be checking if the device that is connected to it needs service in a round robin fashion. Suppose 5 devices are there, then microcontroller will ask the first device, second device, third device, fourth device, fifth device, and once again the first device. So continuously the same set of instruction will be executed. So microcontroller is not doing any work for much of the time. Okay. Whereas in case of an interrupt, microcontroller will be performing some task, and whenever the device needs service, it will send an interrupt signal to the microcontroller. So here in this case, the time is not wasted in checking the device if it needs service. In case of polling, since all the devices are polled in a sequential manner, there is no explicit priority mechanism in polling method. Whereas in case of interrupt, we can assign priorities or default priorities are already there. See, polling, the device, one device after the other device gets monitored. So suppose the first device needs immediate service, it won't be provided with the service. It has to wait until the microcontroller monitors all the devices, and finally when it monitors the first device, if the device needs service, then only service can be provided. Whereas in interrupt, priority can be assigned by using interrupt priority register, that is the IP register. In case of polling, there is no possibility of ignoring a device request for service. As devices get serviced one after the other, there is no way in any of the device is left out. Each and every device will be provided with a service. Whereas in case of an interrupt, we can ignore a device request. Okay. So in case of interrupt, we can mask the request, whereas that is not possible in case of polling. Polling, it is an inefficient way of handling the input-output devices. As masking is not there, then priorities cannot be assigned, then much of the time is wasted. So we say that it is an inefficient way of handling the device, whereas interrupt, it is an efficient way of handling the input-output devices. In case of polling, no external hardware signal is required. because device after device gets monitored, whereas in case of an interrupt, external hardware signal is required to interrupt the microcontroller. Again, you have classifications such as hardware and software. In a hardware interrupt, suppose any device needs service, then the signal is sent through the pin of the microcontroller. This is called as hardware interrupt. So let us see what are the steps in executing the interrupt. Let me say that microcontroller is performing some operation, and now if it gets interrupted, what are the sequence of operations that takes place? First, the microcontroller will complete the execution of the current instruction. Whichever instruction it is executing currently, that will be executed, and it saves the address of the next instruction on the stack. It also saves the current status of all the interrupts internally. These interrupts are written, the interrupt subroutines are written at fixed addresses. So these addresses are obtained from the interrupt vector table known as IVT. This IVT holds the addresses of the interrupt service routine. Then the microcontroller gets the address of the interrupt service routine from the interrupt vector table, and it transfers the program control to the interrupt subroutine. It executes the instruction within the interrupt service routine till it reaches the RETI instruction. RETI means return from interrupt. This is the last instruction in the interrupt service routine or interrupt subroutine. Upon executing this instruction RETI, it gets back the program counter address from the stack and restores the interrupt logic. So program counter, it is loaded and it continues with the execution of the main program. This is how the control is passed on from the main program to the interrupt subroutine, and finally from the interrupt subroutine back to the main program. So stepwise it is given here. It completes the execution of the current instruction whenever an interrupt occurs. Program status word is pushed to the stack. Suppose any addition operation has been carried out before the interrupt signal was received, then the original contents will be lost. So PSW, it will be stored in the stack. Then program counter content also will be pushed onto the stack, because after the execution of the interrupt subroutine, the control has to be passed on to the main program. That is why PC content is pushed into the stack. Then interrupt flag is reset. At a time, just one interrupt will be given the service, so it is reset. Then PC is loaded with the ISR address, because now it has to execute the interrupt subroutine. Then after the execution of the interrupt subroutine, the last instruction is RETI, that stands for return from interrupt. With the execution of this instruction, it pops the current stack top to the program counter. Then the content of the program status word is also taken from the stack. So that is how the control is passed on from the interrupt subroutine to the main program. So here stepwise it is explained. Here in the main program an interrupt has occurred, so it will complete the execution of the current instruction. Then PC content is stored in the stack, IE flags are saved, interrupt flag is cleared or disabled, PC is loaded with the address. So address of INT0 is 0003. Then it will get the address of the interrupt subroutine from the interrupt vector table. Then what it does, so initially it will push on the any of the registers that are being used. It has to be saved, so it will push on to stack any of the registers used in the interrupt subroutine. Then it will execute the interrupt subroutine. Then after that it will pop the contents from the stack. Then it will take the return address and then it will come back to the main program. Okay, so when it comes to the program, when RETI instruction is executed, IE flags are restored and even the program counter is restored, that is from the stack into the to the program counter, and the control is passed on from the subprogram or the interrupt subroutine to the main program. Which are the different types of interrupts available in 8051? We can classify these in different ways. First one is hardware or software interrupt. The second one is maskable and non-maskable interrupts. And the third one is vectored and non-vectored interrupts. What is the meaning of hardware interrupt? An hardware interrupt, it is caused by an external signal. So the microcontroller, it has got two hardware interrupts, that is INT0 and INT1. Whenever an interrupt occurs because of receiving any signal through these pins, then such a interrupt we call it as a hardware interrupt. Then software interrupt. So software interrupt, actually this type of interrupt occurs because when the microcontroller is executing an instruction and if it gets interrupted, that type of interrupt we call it as a software interrupt. So this software interrupt occurs because of the execution of certain instructions in the program, maybe like int 3h or continuously monitoring JNB, or suppose the microcontroller, there is an overflow, in that case the microcontroller gets interrupted. Such interrupts are called as software interrupts. The next classification is maskable and non-maskable interrupts. Maskable interrupts are the interrupts which can be masked, that means it can be disabled. Now the question is, what happens if an interrupt that is masked occurs in the program? In that case, the controller does not respond to the interrupt even though the interrupt is activated. So now the question is how to disable this interrupt. So interrupts can be disabled by suitably programming the interrupt enable register, which we will be discussing later on. Whereas in case of a non-maskable interrupts, these interrupts cannot be disabled. We cannot avoid the occurrence of these interrupts. Such interrupts are called as non-maskable interrupts. Example of a reset pin you can consider. When you press reset, it has got the highest priority and definitely the service will be provided for it. Such interrupt is called as a non-maskable interrupt. The next type of interrupt is vectored and non-vectored interrupts. We have already seen that the interrupt subroutine are written at fixed locations. So the addresses of the interrupts are known priorly. Such interrupts are called as vectored interrupts. The interrupt for which the starting address of the interrupt service routine is predefined is called as vectored interrupt. So each of the interrupts, it may be timer 0, timer 1, external interrupt 0, external interrupt 1, or reset or serial communication, whatever it is, all has to be written at predefined addresses. Such interrupts are called as vectored interrupts. Whereas in case of a non-vectored interrupt, the interrupt for which the starting address of the interrupt subroutine is not predefined and it is provided by the external interrupt at the time of the occurrence of the interrupt is called as non-vectored interrupt. So generally, vectored interrupts are the interrupts for which the ISR address is known. If the ISR, that is interrupt subroutine address, is not known, such interrupts are called as non-vectored interrupts. Here, the type of interrupt, the addresses and the interrupt number is given. Here it is not shown. The reset pin, it has got the highest priority, and reset the interrupt subroutine for reset interrupt is written at 0000H location. Okay, external interrupt 0. The subroutine is written at the address 0003H. Then the interrupt for timer 0 or counter 0, it is written at 000BH location. External interrupt 1, subroutine is written at 0013H address. Timer 1 or counter 1 interrupt subroutine is written at 001BH. And for serial communication, the interrupt is written at 0023H. Especially for serial communication, whenever an interrupt occurs, we don't know why an interrupt has occurred. Is it because the transmission is complete, or is it because the reception is complete? So this condition has to be tested in the interrupt subroutine, because you don't have separate address for receiving and transmitting. Okay, it is the same address, that is 0023H is the address of the interrupt subroutine. So even though the transmission is complete, or even because of the reception is complete, the serial communication interrupt occurs and it goes to this address of the interrupt subroutine. So there we need to test the condition whether Ti is equal to 1 or Ri is equal to 1. Then only we get to know how an interrupt has occurred. Okay, this is a bit pattern of interrupt enable register. So previously I was discussing regarding the maskable interrupts. So I said that the interrupts can be disabled. We can disable those interrupts by using this register, that is the interrupt enable register. So one has to know the bit pattern of the interrupt enable register, then only we can enable or disable a type of interrupt. That is, masking is possible only if we suitably program the bits of the interrupt enable register. The first bit, that is EA, that is enable interrupt. If this bit is 1, that means all the interrupts are enabled. If this bit is 0, then all the interrupts are disabled. Next two bits are not used. Next one is the bit for enabling the serial communication interrupt. If the bit is 1, that means the serial communication interrupt is enabled. If it is 0, then serial communication is disabled. The next one is ET1. ET1, that is timer 1 overflow interrupt. So while discussing the timer concepts, there continuously we monitor the TF1 flag bit to check if there is any overflow. If there is any overflow, then it will come out of the loop, else it will continuously poll the instruction. So if you want to enable that timer 1 overflow, then this bit has to be made 1. The next one is EX1, that is external interrupt 1. If this bit is 1, then only we are enabling the external interrupt 1, that is through INT1 pin. The next one is ET0, that is if the bit is 1, then we are enabling the timer 0 overflow, else we are disabling. The last bit, that is EX0, that is external interrupt 0. This is with reference to INT0 pin of the microcontroller. If this bit is 1, then only that pin INT0 gets enabled, or else it is disabled. Okay, so now even though the other bits are 1, and if you make EA bit 0, then all the interrupts are disabled. So you are controlling all the interrupts using this bit EA. If it is equal to 1, all the interrupts are enabled, else it is disabled. Okay, then we can access the individual bits of the interrupt enable register. If you want to access this bit, we access it using IE dot 0. This is IE dot 0. The next one is IE dot 1, IE dot 2, and the last bit is IE dot 7. Okay, so this is how you will be accessing each of the bits. Or you can program interrupt enable register as a whole. So I can say this interrupt enable register, it is bit as well as byte oriented. That is, bit oriented means we can access individual bits, or we can access all the bits together as a byte. Let us look into few examples how to enable and disable a particular type of interrupt, or how to mask a particular. Write the instructions to perform the following operations: enabling the serial interrupt, timer 0 interrupt, and external hardware interrupt 1. To perform this, we should be knowing the frame pattern of interrupt enable register. So this is the frame pattern of the interrupt enable register, and I have told you earlier that it can be either byte accessed or bit accessed. Either we can make changes in the individual bit, or we can make changes in the entire byte. So here this bit, the LSB refers to IE dot 0, that is interrupt enable bit 0, and the MSB, it refers to IE dot 7, that is interrupt enable bit 7. Totally 8 bits are there. So in the given question, it is said that you have to enable the serial interrupt, timer 0 interrupt, and external hardware interrupt 1. The first thing what you need to do is, first you have to enable the interrupt enable register. Only if this is enabled, then only the other bits will be enabled. If this is 0, and even if you make the remaining bits 1, that interrupt will be masked. So the first thing what you need to do is, you need to enable the interrupt enable register. You make it 1. Then let us see which are the other interrupts that has to be enabled. So the next 2 bits are not used. Either you can put it as dash or ET2, which is not used. It is used in 8052 microcontroller. Serial communication bit, it has to be made 1. So here you can see it is made 1, 1001. Then timer 0 has to be made 1. This bit has to be made 1. External hardware interrupt 1 has to be made 1. So IE2, it is made 1. Okay, so you can load IE register together. Here either you can convert the bits into hexa, or you can write it in binary. B refers to that the digits are given in binary. So interrupt enable register, it is made 1, rest 2 bits are 0. Serial communication bit is made 1, timer 1 is made 0, interrupt external interrupt 1 is made 1, then timer 0 is made 1, then external interrupt 0 is made 0. So IE has to be loaded with the appropriate value in order to perform this operation. The next one, we need to enable timer 0 interrupt using bit manipulation instruction. Okay, so here both are shown, bit oriented as well as byte oriented instruction. Both has been shown here. First you have to make EA bit 1, then only the other interrupts gets enabled. So set bit IE dot 7, that means you are making the interrupt enable bit 7, flag bit 1. Then you have to make timer 0 enable. So this is IE dot 1, hence you have written set bit IE dot 1. It can be written in the other way also, where move IE comma hash 1 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 is written. You need to write B to indicate that it is a binary number. Okay, so this is how we have enabled timer 0 interrupt. Next, if you want to disable all the interrupts, so let the other bits be 1 or 0, that doesn't matter at all. You can disable all the bits by making this EA bit, interrupt enable bit 0. Then all the interrupts will be masked. So the instruction is CLR IE.7. Okay, so speaking about the bit oriented instruction, if you want to set a particular bit, write SCTB. If you want to clear a particular bit, you can write CLR. Few more questions will be given in the Google Classroom. Please solve those problems and upload. Thank you.